All right, and boom, everybody. What is up? It's me, J-Rod, the filmmaker, former film major, frequent fighting gamer from Philadelphia, and we are back once again with another very special episode of First and Final. If this is your first time ever seeing a first and final video and you want to know what that means and what this is all about, then I will let you know right now. It's a two-part video where I take my first ever reaction to a show or movie or other piece of media and my final thoughts on that show or movie, a review of sorts, and I put them together so you guys can see my first reaction and then my final thoughts and compare the two to see if I was excited for the thing and I'm no longer excited, or if I was hype and now I'm still hype, or if I had expectations for it and the thing lived up to my expectations, or if the thing did not live up to my expectations. And yeah, we've been doing this for years now. The first time I ever did one of these videos was with the first Mortal Kombat movie, and we still have not gotten an official trailer for the second Mortal Kombat movie, but it is supposed to be coming before the end of this year. I think it's slated around October, and whenever we do finally get the trailer, I'm definitely going to make another first and final video for Mortal Kombat 2, but that's not what this video is about. This video is about the newest Marvel Studios movie, Captain America: Brave New World. This is going to be the first Marvel MCU release of 2025, and considering that last year, 2024, we only got one Marvel movie, and that was Deadpool and Wolverine, which kind of sat in a limbo place. It was technically an MCU movie, but it was mostly about the 20th Century Fox properties that have come before. This feels like the first actual MCU release in a long time, and I guess that's because it is. So we're going to talk today about Captain America: Brave New World. I'm going to show you guys my first reactions from back in July of 2024. I watched the first trailer. I actually watched it live on stream when I was doing a stream for the Tekken Talk with Lydia Sobieska in Tekken 8. So you guys could go back to that live stream and check out my first reaction, but I'm actually going to show it to you guys right after this. And then when I'm done with my first reactions, I'm going to give you guys my full final thoughts on the film, which will include my spoiler-free review of the film and then my full spoiler-filled review of the film. And then we're going to put it all together in one video and call it another episode of First and Final. So I'm going to take it back to myself in the past, almost a year ago, to when I first saw my first ever trailer for Captain America: Brave New World, and you guys can see what my thoughts were at the time. And so let's do it. All right, boom. And without further ado, let's check out the Captain America: Brave New World official teaser and see what it has to offer.
Wilson.
I like that. I like the suit. Ooh, Harrison Ford.
I have to admit, I'm still getting used to the new look.
I heard rumors of who he's playing.
Lose the election. You and I haven't always agreed in the past, but I want to make another run at making Captain America an official military position. And if we disagree on how to manage this situation, then what happens?
Giancarlo Esposito.
Work with me, Sam.
Looks like a good cast.
We'll show the world a better way forward.
But what does he mean by new look? Did they give Thunderbolt Ross a new face? Why was he inside a glass tube if it's not bulletproof?
Sir, your inner circle's been compromised. Either you can't see that, or you don't want to.
Okay, I didn't think that this was what they were going for.
Global power is shifting.
It looks nice. That guy, I believe, is going to be the new Falcon. Giancarlo is probably going to be the villain.
Captain America, but you're not Steve Rogers.
What that mean?
You're right. I'm not.
Did this... I almost called him a slur. Did this man just fly through a jet? Okay, so the rumors about who Harrison Ford is playing appear to be true. Now, here's the thing. This looks really good. This looks really good. I did not expect this to look so good. I have some problems. So if you guys saw, I made a video about Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the series. Now, I did overall like Falcon and Winter Soldier. I just had a problem with the story arc they did for U.S. Agent. I didn't like it at all. It was a really bad redemption arc with no redemption, with no real, like, no one actually did any work in his redemption arc. He didn't do any work to redeem himself, but they still just forgave him, gave him a new job. He never got arrested, never faced any real consequences. So that's why I have a bit of a chip on my shoulder about Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But I did like the actual Falcon and the Winter Soldier storyline of it all, and I liked where they took that. I liked a lot about the story. It's just overall, some parts of it left a sour taste in my mouth. Pause. I'm gonna cut that out. Some parts did bother me a bit, but this looks really good because this looks like an updated, modernized Captain America film. But it also definitely reminds me of like Winter Soldier. It's a lot about that espionage, military conflict. There's probably going to be a lot of politics involved, but really just making like a spy thriller, action thriller inside the Marvel universe. One person who I think is really going to like this movie is my dad, because my dad likes Marvel movies and superhero movies, but he also really likes the political thrillers, spy movies. He likes not just superhero movies. He likes presidential movies, where I really don't. And one of his favorites is Air Force One. So I'm going to tell my dad that this is Air Force One in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But for a first impression, I like this more than I ever thought I would. Yeah, obviously, I'm still holding my final judgments until I see the full film. They could still botch the character arcs, the writing of it, which is really going to be an important. Like, the action looks like it's going to be solid. The CGI actually looks really good, but they could still fumble the bag as far as the writing. That's what I hold out my judgment until I see the final movie for. But off of this first impression, this looks good. This looks pretty good. I know a lot of people think the MCU is dead, but they got a couple bangers left in the tank. I mean, this, Deadpool versus Wolverine, Agatha All Along looks like it's going to be great. Then we also got like Fantastic Four coming. We also got, what's the Daredevil show? Born Again? I think that they still have a lot of really interesting projects on the horizon. And I like that they kind of stepped back and don't feel the need to 3 movies every year, because that was starting to make it feel really formulaic, robotic, and inauthentic. But I'm interested in what this next phase is going to look like, and I'm really interested in this film specifically. So that is going to be it for this first reaction, but the next time you see me, I will give you guys my final thoughts on how I feel about the final film of Captain America Brave New World. So the next time you see me, it will be February of 2025. So fingers crossed, by then I will have already seen Agatha All Along. I will have already seen Deadpool versus Wolverine. I will have already, who knows what else will be revealed at that time. But, and also fingers crossed that the world still exists, because there is a possibility, who knows, they could press a button and blow everything up by then and we won't even get the final movie. But if everything works out, then the next time you see me, I will give you guys my final thoughts and we will see what I have to say about the film. But that's going to be it for me for right now. All right, and now I have passed it off to myself in the future, where I have seen the final film, Captain America Brave New World. I saw it just this week, actually on President's Day. I went out to go see it. I know it was very intentional that they put this movie out on President's Day weekend, because it's about presidents. And it does have, that national elements, symbolism. We'll get into it when I start talking about the film, but this is going to be my review of Captain America Brave New World. Now that I have seen the full film, I'm going to start off with telling you how I feel about the movie without spoiling it, so that if you still haven't seen it, you can get my short summarized thoughts on whether I think you should go see it, do I recommend it or not. Then I'm going to give you guys my spoiler warning, and I'm going to get into spoilers on the film, and then that'll be all of that. So my spoiler-free review of this film, Captain America Brave New World, is that I liked it. I really did like it. I thought that it was a really good Marvel movie, a good entry in the overall MCU. I thought it was a return to form in a lot of ways, a return to form for the MCU overall, for Captain America films, which we haven't had one in quite some time, since Civil War. And it is a, it's not as, out there, and it doesn't have as many moving pieces, and it's not a huge summer blockbuster with a bunch of Avengers in it like Captain America Civil War was. It's a bit simpler than that, but that doesn't mean it's bad. I really did enjoy the film overall. I thought it was a fun movie to watch. It's really good as an action film. Like, it is a serious action film. There's some comedy to it, but it's not a comedy film at all. I think that they did really good with the tone of the film. I think they handled the themes of the film pretty well. And like I said, it's a return to form. So if you missed like those old school wow, it's insane to say old school as if the entire MCU isn't still a recent thing. But if you missed the MCU films that we used to get like pre-Infinity War and Endgame, then I think that this is one that you guys will enjoy. If you are a fan of Captain America films, like, it's not really that much like the first Avenger. But if you're a fan of Winter Soldier and Civil War, this film definitely fits right in. It's in the same vein as those films. It continues the stories from those films in a lot of different ways, and even adds a lot of new things that you probably weren't expecting. It doesn't introduce any major new characters, new properties, or new concepts into the MCU. It just does a good job of expanding what is already there with Captain America's lore, with Sam Wilson's lore, and it even does a lot of expanding the Hulk's lore, which I don't think I was expecting going into it, but it was a pleasant surprise. It's not a perfect film, and I didn't expect it to be a perfect film either, because I think 99.9% of Marvel films aren't perfect. To be completely honest, the only film in the MCU that I consider perfect is Endgame. I think Endgame is a perfect film. Infinity War is really good as well. But other than that, none of the other films are perfect. They all have their flaws. And this one is similar, but I don't think that the flaws of the film outweighed what was good about the film. So overall, I do think it was a success in that regard. A lot of people are going to ask, how does Anthony Mackie do as Captain America, since this is his first solo film as Captain America? And I think that Anthony Mackie takes up the mantle of Captain America pretty well. I don't think it misses a beat as a Captain America film at all. And also in that same token, we have Danny Ramirez, who picks up Falcon's mantle at the same time. And I think neither of them miss a beat. I think the mantles, they are handed over really well in this film. They don't drop the ball at all. And it still felt like we're watching a film with Captain America and Falcon, even though Steve Rogers is no longer in the MCU in the fray with us. Another thing I really liked about the film is that they added Harrison Ford to the cast. He's playing a character that was already established, but this is his first time portraying that character. They ended up recasting Thunderbolt Ross, and I think Harrison Ford does a great job as Thunderbolt Ross. I don't know how he feels overall about being in the MCU, being in the machine, but it still just felt like Harrison Ford playing a Harrison Ford character. He does a pretty good job acting. He's very serious, and he fills that role pretty well. And then we also had Carl Lumbly, who is returning as Isaiah Bradley. This is reprising his role from the series The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So if you've seen that show, there's a lot of stuff that a lot of little Easter eggs and a lot of extra knowledge that you'll get from that show. But if you haven't seen that show, I don't think it's a required reading. They basically kind of fill you in on anything that you might have missed in the show. But I think Harrison Ford and Carl Lumbly both do a good job in this film, and I'm glad that they are part of the cast now. Overall, this movie, like I said, it evokes elements of past Captain America films, but it's definitely its own story. And while there are some things about it that I think are underwhelming, overall, I think it's a good film. So that is all that I have to say about Captain America Brave New World without spoiling it. So this is going to be your official spoiler warning. If you don't want the film spoiled, then you got to get out of here. Go check it out. I would recommend you guys see it in theaters. It's a very fun watch. It's a great action film. And after this spoiler warning, I will get into more details and spoilers of the film. All right, so now let's get into it with details and spoilers. Like I said, it wasn't a perfect film, so I'm going to start off talking about some of the things that I had a problem with. My biggest problem was with this character. What is her name? Ruth Bet Saraf. There was a bit of controversy with her inclusion in the film because she is an Israeli character, and right now, for obvious reasons, adding an Israeli character seems like a big political statement. But my biggest problem with her inclusion in the film is that it adds absolutely nothing to the film. If you take her character completely out of the film, it's the exact same movie. She didn't add anything on like the hero side. She didn't add much conflict to the heroes. She was just there. She was just kind of there. And to be completely honest, there were other characters in this film that could have done the job that she did without adding another character. So after seeing her part in the film, or lack thereof, I was wondering if it was even worth including her for that controversy, or did they include her specifically to generate controversy to try to get some more buzz around the film? That is what I'm left wondering, and at the end of the day, I just think that it was a very unnecessary casting decision, just an unnecessary add to the movie overall. Then the next part of the film that I'm kind of torn on, I go back and forth on, is the choice of villains. Now, this film has a couple different villains to go off of, and telling by just the marketing materials, they only really showed Giancarlo Esposito's character, who plays Sidewinder in this film. They really showed him in all the marketing materials, so going into it, I thought that he was probably the main villain of this film, but then when you actually go to see the film, that's not the case at all. He is kind of like the first villain. He's kind of like the initial villain, and they do this a lot in the MCU. More so they did it in the Marvel Netflix shows a lot, where they would introduce a villain for the first half that kind of gets taken out halfway through, and then a bigger villain comes in and takes the reins from there. That was really what they did with this one, and basically Giancarlo Esposito is good in this film. He provides some really interesting action. He's a fun character. He does a pretty good job playing Sidewinder in this character. But after he's dispatched very early in the film, then we get the real villain who comes in, who is Samuel Stearns, aka the Leader. Now, this is Tim Blake Nelson, who I believe this character actually was created during The Incredible Hulk. So this character was created during The Incredible Hulk, and like I said, this film, even though it's a Captain America film, it actually does continue a lot of plot threads from The Incredible Hulk. And his inclusion, I like the way that the writers used Samuel Stearns in this movie. He had a really interesting arc, and he was a pretty compelling villain overall. But I think that just his inclusion was a bit underwhelming, because when you initially see him, I don't even remember him from Incredible Hulk. It was so long ago that it didn't have that impact of, oh, that's the guy, you know? For me, it was just, okay, here's another character. We're going to learn how he's affected by the story and what his evil plan is going forward. But I did like how they used him in this. I like how the writers wrote him in this. And he had that, like, the physical thing going on. They really gave us that, like, ooh, this guy is creepy looking, which is always good for a villain. So he was a good villain, although he was a bit underwhelming. And then the final big bad, who is Red Hulk. We saw Red Hulk. He's in a lot of the production materials. And if you know about Red Hulk's history, you know that at some point, General Thunderbolt Ross, well, President Thunderbolt Ross, as of this point, was going to become Red Hulk. He was always destined to be Red Hulk, and he's been in a lot of these Marvel movies before, and I guess every single time he showed up, people were waiting like, is this where we get Red Hulk? Is this where we get Red Hulk? So it was interesting that they finally paid off that plot thread that goes way, way back to Incredible Hulk. And I thought they used him really well in this film. He just had a small part in the film. He doesn't show up until the finale, the big action set piece that they end the film off of, but it was a really good set piece to watch. The fight between Red Hulk and Captain America was really good. I like how they choreographed it. It was fun to watch, action packed, insanely good, and the CGI for Red Hulk is actually really good at this point. That, like, he's basically a full CGI character, but it was very believable. He was well integrated into the, practical effects. There actually was one time in this, so this picture that I have behind me is from that finale scene where he fights Red Hulk. Right before the end of the fight, there's a scene where Sam is kind of trying to appeal to the human nature of General Ross to get him to turn back into a human. For some reason, even though the CGI was really good in the fight scene, the green screen keying effects of that final scene where he's talking to Red Hulk just looked really weird. It really just wasn't working. Sam didn't actually feel like he was there. He did feel superimposed, which I thought was really strange, considering how there were a lot more complex VFX that they did well, and then keying out a green screen was something that they did pretty badly. Now, I'm not shooting shots, because as you can see, I My green screen could use some work as well, but I just thought that was interesting. And, knowing modern movies, they're probably going to continue to tweak little things like that throughout the theatrical release until it is ready for home viewing via like Disney Plus or whatever. I liked how they used Red Hulk, even though his part was a bit small. I didn't think that he needed to be there throughout the entire film because that would kind of just muddy up the fact that we already had two other villains. So having Samuel Stearns as the villain and then Red Hulk in the end ties up a lot of like storylines that we haven't seen since the Incredible Hulk, but this film still is a Captain America film at the end of the day, and it definitely evokes a lot of the past Captain America films like Civil War and Winter Soldier. The mind control arc, or the part of the story where the leader kind of mind controls Isaiah Bradley into doing something against his will, and then Sam has to try to find the evidence to exonerate him, that definitely evoked Captain America Winter Soldier easily. And this was basically the same arc that we've got with Steve and Bucky in Winter Soldier. This is now the new version of that with Sam and Isaiah Bradley. And yeah, I thought it was pretty interesting, and I thought it was a nice little modernization of a story that we've already seen. I mean, but it even goes deeper. Like, there was the scene where they're at the black site where Samuel Stearns is working out of, and that definitely reminded me of when Sam and Natasha are going to this off-books like Hydra base, and they're hunting down the villain there. And then in the end, in Winter Soldier, we had this big fight action scene on the helicarrier. In this movie, we got a big fight action scene on a normal aircraft carrier. There were elements of the story that were like Winter Soldier, but dialed back a bit. And then there were some elements that were dialed up a bit from Winter Soldier. And then for Civil War, there was only like thematic elements that reminded me of Civil War. There wasn't this big like superhero battle like there was in Civil War. But if you remember the plot of Civil War, you had Zemo and Thunderbolt Ross kind of driving this infighting between the Avengers that led to the Civil War. In this one, we've got Thunderbolt Ross and Samuel Stearns, who are driving this sort of infighting between these two military powers, the United States and Japan, and there are some other countries involved, but it's mainly between those two. And it's all about this sort of like mastermind, puppet master sort of story of someone pulling the strings and trying to create a conflict out of nowhere. And I definitely felt Civil War when I was watching that part of the movie. I think that's what they were trying to evoke. I did feel like this was a really good film. For this to be Captain America 4, it definitely continues the stories of Captain America 2 and 3 pretty well. Also brings in the Incredible Hulk for a bit of a twist. I thought that the villains were good. I really like Giancarlo Esposito in this. Samuel Stearns, I like the way he was used. It just caught me way off guard. And Red Hulk, I thought they did a really good job with Red Hulk in this movie. Some people will probably complain that, Red Hulk is very powerful and Sam is just a dude with some wings. However, this is his movie. So if you were expecting him to get beaten in the end of this movie, you're just hating at this point because it's his own movie. Obviously, the good guy who is the titular character is going to win, especially since he's the new Captain America. But I thought the action was really good. Specifically, in the very beginning, there's some fun scenes, but the third act action scenes, the big, like, war type battle that takes place on the aircraft carrier was really good. I thought Sam and Falcon, they both pulled out some really cool tricks with their arsenal. And yeah, I thought that was really fun to watch. And then the final fight scene between Sam and Red Hulk, I thought was also done really well and was really fun to watch. So overall, I had a couple of problems with the film, but they weren't significant at all. I liked a lot more things about the film than I disliked. My biggest critique is that it was underwhelming in certain parts, and that also carries into the post-credit scene. So there's a post-credit scene. Samuel Stearns is talking about the different possibilities and how Sam is trying to save the world, but that they are coming and that they can't save, something along those lines. They are coming and you can't save all the worlds or something. So that was obviously a reference to what's to come with like Secret Wars. I just don't feel like it hit. I don't think it had that same impact as some of our past post-credit scenes. I saw what they were going for, but I wish they kind of would have set that up a little bit better. But overall, I did like the film. I thought it was really good. I think it's worth seeing. I think they played it really safe because they're trying to get back a lot of the MCU mainstay fans that they might have lost by doing these big movies or introducing these new characters. And I don't think they need to do that. I think they can continue to introduce new characters, new properties, and big concepts Even if it scares some people away, I think the core fans are, this is what we want. We want new stuff. We want big ideas, new stories, new concepts. I think the biggest thing introduced in this film was the concept of adamantium. I think we all know where they're going to go with that. And so it's good to know that they are looking forward to those bigger story arcs. But we're probably going to end up having to wait for, like, you know, Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars to actually get those big story arcs fleshed out. Maybe Fantastic Four First Steps later this year is going to be a big story arc, but we'll have to wait and see. If you like Captain America movies, I think you'll like this one. If you like the more traditional and grounded MCU films that we used to get, I think you'll like this one. But if you only like the big concept, big like final set pieces, it's not one of those movies. It's not an Endgame or an Infinity War, so just wait for the next Avengers movie and you'll get that. But that is going to be it for me today. So guys, if you have seen the movie, then tell me how you feel about it. And if you haven't seen the movie, then tell me why you haven't seen it yet and you just watched me spoil the entire thing. But either way, let me know how you feel by boom hitting me with the 3-hit combo. And you just smash the like button like Sam Wilson, spear the subscribe button like Black Panther, and kick the notification bell like Black Widow for another episode of First and Final. I will be back with First and Final for the Thunderbolts, First and Final for Fantastic Four First Steps, First and Final for the new Superman film that is coming. And I'm trying to think. I feel like I have some other First and Finals recorded, but I don't remember. So we'll just have to wait and see. Oh, Daredevil Born Again. That is actually going to be another First and Final that is actually coming up pretty soon that I'm excited for. And we'll have to wait and see what else is coming after that. Let me know how you guys feel about that one. This weekend is going to be, I'm going to do a live stream on Sunday, this upcoming Sunday, for Mortal Kombat 1's return to the pro competition in Mexico City. So Sunday at some point after noon will be top 8. I don't know when exactly, but I know noon is when the tournament starts, and I feel like they'll probably start with like top 32 or top 24 or something like that. So some point on Sunday afternoon or Sunday evening, we'll be watching top 8 for Mortal Kombat 1 pro competition in Mexico City. And in addition to watching the tournament, I'll also be playing some Fatal Fury City of the Wolves and some 5 Force Fighters on stream. But yeah, we've got a lot of live streams coming up, a lot of new videos coming up. I'm very excited, and I'm happy that the MCU is back. It's been 7 years since Black Panther dropped, which makes me feel old, but it also like reminds me that, wow, we've come really, really far with the MCU. Because, like, look at some of the stuff that's in the past. Incredible Hulk technically wasn't an MCU film, but it's now kind of canonized into the MCU. We've got other films like Captain America 1, 2, and 3, Iron Man 1, 2, and 3. Thor is up to 4 at this point. So, yeah, it's very exciting. If you guys want to check out any of my other opinions on past MCU films, check out my First and Final playlist, where there are a bunch of reviews and reactions in there. Not just for Marvel films, but also for some Marvel TV shows, and a lot more. DC TV shows, non-Marvel, non-superhero stuff. I even did one for the Borderlands film that hey, look, I don't regret making the video, but somebody had to do it. So that is going to be it for this one, you guys. Let me know how you feel. Let me know if you feel me, and I will see you guys next time in another new video. Peace out. Now we do have the newest trailers for the final 2 members of the Fantastic Four, new characters coming into Marvel Rivals Season 1, and I'm very excited to check them out. If you don't know who these 2 characters are, here's the thing. I had to do. I know that joke is getting overdone.